Okay, so today we're going to show how to score our BOT. So first you want to make sure your booklet's filled out and all your scores are filled in the little bubbles, and you have your total point score at the bottom of each one, because after we have our total point score, we're going to put them in here. After we get our total point score, we can move on to each box, which will show you which tables that you have to go to. So since we have our total point score here, we're going to go to our scale score, which is for fine motor precision, and then we're just going to keep going down. So here it'll say tables B1 to B3, which we have over here. So we have to do age specific. So since our client is a male, he is 13 and 6 months, so we're going to go to ages 13. And then for fine motor precision, we're going to find our total point score in these boxes, which he got a 28, which is right here, 27 to 30. So his scale score will be a 6. After you find that, you're going to put it in our booklet and you're going to write 6. Now we're going to do the same thing for fine motor integration, which he got a 25. So we're going to go back to our booklet, into our table. He got a 25. Oh, and our second one, fine motor integration. 25 is right here between 20 and 26. You scroll over to scale score, which he got a 5. This fine manual control is going to be in a different section, but we'll get to that later. So just leave this blank for now, which is this box. This is just the sum when we do 6 plus 5, which is 6, 7, 8, 11. Okay, so we have 11. Okay, so like we said, for the fine manual control, this is going to be in a different table in the book than the ones that you found here. So after you find your sum, we're going to go here and we're going to go to tables B4 and B7. So you can see either page numbers, or you can go here and find the table at the bottom. So we're going to scroll to B4 and B7, which is some ways away. And again, it'll vary on their age, so you really want to look at the ages at the top and make sure you're going to the sex-specific norms. Okay, so like we said before, we have to go to a different table to find our fine manual control. So since we did our sum for fine motor precision and fine motor integration, we did 6 plus 5, which is 11. So that's going to be our score. And to find the standard score, we're going to scroll over to our book. So since we found the proper table, we're at B5, and we're at male, which is sex specific, and also age specific. So to find it, you're going to take your score, which was 11, and you're going to look over here for fine manual control. Scroll till you find 11, which is right here. And you're not going to go to percentile rank, you're going to go to the standard score, which is 30. So you're going to write 30 in the standard score box. So going forward, like we said before, you want to make sure that you find the bolded in blue that are in a different section of the tables. So like we found fine motor precision and fine motor integration, you will do the same for manual dexterity, upper limb, bilateral, and so on. Just finding the bold in the blue, you have to find the standard score, and this is in a separate box, as you can see, because you're going to use the sum, then find the standard score. But now we're just going to keep going forward with all the other sections. So in regards to scoring, just make sure you guys are using the sex specific and not the combined, because this is female and male. So depending on the gender of your client, you want to make sure you're using male or female. In our case, we're obviously using male, but just be mindful to not use the combined scales because they'll give you different scores. Okay, so we filled out the rest of our numbers. So we did our basic math, and this is self-explanatory with adding. So now that we found these numbers, we're going to scroll over to find our band, which is going to be under confidence interval in table C1 through C4, which we already have over here open. So again, you want to use the sex-specific norms table. And just like before, when we found fine motor precision and fine motor integration, fine manual control is going to be its own chart, but we'll show you that when we get there. So now to find our band, we'll go to our table. So we're going to scroll over, find our client's age, which is 13. So now when you get to your confidence level, you can use 95 or 90, and then you can scroll to page 28 for a further explanation of why to use 90 versus 95 confidence intervals. So since our client is 13, we are going to use 90 for our case. So for 90, you scroll over to fine motor precision and see which number correlates with it. And in his case, he got 4. So once you find that 4, you're gonna come back over to your booklet, write 4 in your band, and you're gonna keep going. Okay, so we filled out all the numbers, but remember, our bolded blue are always gonna be a different chart in the book. So we got these from a chart in the book. Now we're gonna go to this one. So it indicates C1 through C4. So we used C1 for the other ones, but now we're gonna be using C3. So as you can see, it says fine manual control. These are all the ones that are in that blue bolded. So since we're using 90 for our confidence level and he has 13, we go to 90, we scroll over, he got 6 for fine manual control. And you can see we filled in the 6. Same thing for manual coordination. You go over to your book, find manual coordination, find age 13, 90%, he got a 5, which is listed here, that line up with the blue. Okay, so now that we found our bands, we want to find our interval. In this section, you're not going to have to scroll to any charts in the book. You're just simply doing basic math. So to find our confidence interval, what we're going to do is look at our score, and we're going to subtract 4 and add 4 to the number. So for example, we did the first 2. So for this one, we did 6 minus 4, which is 2, and then we did 6 plus 4, which is 10. And you're gonna do that so far and so forth with each one. So we did the second one, 5 minus 3 is 2, 5 plus 3 is 8. And that's what you're gonna do going forward for all of these until we go to the next section. Okay, so going forward, remember that your blue bolded are always gonna be something different. So since we used these boxes to do this math, just make sure with this line, you're using this box to do this math. So we did 30 plus and minus 6. So 30 minus 6, 24, 30 plus 6, 36. So just make sure you're not using the sum, you're using the standard score for these. Okay, so now we're gonna find our percentile rank, which is only going to be for our blue bolded section. So as you can see, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So we're gonna go to find manual control in our tables B4 through B7, which we already have open in our book. So he is male, we're in ages 12 to 14 since he is 13. So you're gonna go to your standard score, which he got 30, you're gonna scroll down, you find 30, and you go all the way across to your percentile rank, which he has a 2. So you're gonna write 2 into your line, and then so on and so forth. Find your standard score 33 over here, scroll to 33, then scroll all the way over to the left, see where it lines up with percentile rank, which he has a 5, and write it on your line. Okay, so now we're gonna find our age equivalent tables, which is B14 to B16. Just be mindful you're not filling out the blue bolded parts. There's no line to write anything in. But when you go to your tables, the scores you're going to be referring to are the total point scores. So you need to be using these scores in order to find these numbers. So we have our table open. So as you can see, it says total point score. So for our client, he scored a 28 in fine motor precision. So we're gonna scroll to 28, which is here, and his age equivalence is 6 and 9 months to 6 and 11 months. So you're just gonna write exactly what you see here over onto your table. So it was 6, 9 to 6, 11. And you're gonna do the same thing, so on and so forth. Find your 25 and your total point score. Under fine motor integration, scroll to 25, scroll over, 6 months and 6 and 2 months. Same thing, 6, 6, 2. Okay, so now we're at the end of our BOT. We're gonna do our descriptive category, which is in table C13. But when you're scoring it, some of them you're going to be using the scale score, and some of them you're going to be using the standard score, which you'll see what we mean by going to this chart. So for his fine motor precision, he got a scale score of 6. So we're gonna go to scale score range. The number 6 falls to below average. So you're gonna write the words below average on the line. So now we're gonna skip this one since it's the same as this. We're gonna go to standard score, which is 30, and you go over to standard score range, find your 30, and scroll over well below average. So he fell 30 or less, you're gonna write well below average, and just make sure you're writing it on the right line. Okay, so now you have the section down here, which is the total motor composite. So we have a sum of 144, and you're gonna go to, it's gonna be on page 194. So you're gonna be in male, find your client's age and gender. And since he's 13, he falls in the 10 to 21. So you scroll to find your 144, which is right here. And you're actually gonna get your percentile rank and your standard score. So his standard score is a 34 and his percentile rank is a 6. So we have standard score 34 and his percentile rank is a 6. So you can get those both at once. Okay, so now we have to find our band for the total motor composite, which we're gonna go back to C1 through C4, but in this case, it's going to be on table C3. So you go to total motor composite, and remember we're using the 90%. Go over to your age, scroll over in line with 90, and he is a 3. So you'll write 3 for your band, and then you're gonna do that math again. So you're gonna take 34, subtract it, and then add it and put your numbers in. Now you're gonna go back to your descriptive category for the last time and find this section. So you have standard score, he has a 34. Find your standard score, he fell below average, and you just write it in.